All right, folks, welcome back to Mike and Maurice's Mind Escape. We have episode number 66 today, DMT versus ayahuasca. Check us out at www.mikeandmauricemindescape.com, patreon.com/Mike and Maurice. Today, this is a first for us. We've got, not only do we have more than one guest, but we have three guests. So, what's going on, Paul, Sam, and Dick? What's up?
How you doing, guys?
So, Paul, why don't you start it off? Why don't you give us a little background on your little recent trip to South America and what you guys were up to?
Well, we didn't go to South America.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey,
It was a retreat in the Western world, shall we say?
Okay,
I'm not
okay.
gonna tell you what.
I just
But,
assumed. It was
Yeah, of course. I found one in the UK, and
nice.
I found out through a lad on Instagram who'd been to the same retreat as me in the Amazon 2 years ago, Capitari retreats, and he posted a picture of a retreat he'd just done, and I'm like, "Where's that, mate? That doesn't look like the Amazon or anywhere around South America. It looked like somewhere in Europe." And then he said, "I found a retreat in UK, and I've just done it, and it was really professional and really good, powerful medicine." And I thought, well, that's interesting because I'm more likely to get people coming along doing ceremonies with me if it's more accessible. And so I thought, well, I'll tap him up, ask a few questions about it. What's it like? Because we could compare it to the one we'd done in the Amazon, you see, because he'd done the same one as me, so I knew where he were coming from.
Right.
And he said they were tip top. They knew what they were doing. The experience was amazing. And after going doing it, it certainly walks the walk. What an amazing place. They really know what they're doing. And the medicine was very, very powerful. So I tapped. I wanted to take some people. I knew Sam was interested in having a mooch. I know Dick fancied it as well. So I thought, well, let's see what they want to see if they want to come along. And so I just chucked him a line. They were interested. I gave them the contacts, and then off we went. And it all panned out like it was meant to be. It certainly was. I'm sure Dick and Sam will contest to that. But yeah, it proved to me you really don't have to be in the Amazon. You hear all this chatter about you shouldn't be taking it. It's sacred. It should stay in the Amazon. Well, Lady Nature exists in every plant on Earth and everything that lives. It's not just one place. That's just it's just an hotbed, so to speak, isn't it?
Yeah, that actually brings up a good point. When you guys said you guys did that, my first thought was, oh, they went to the Amazon because that's what you associate it with. That's what most people do. But you're right. I mean, it's something that you can pretty much make anywhere. I mean, obviously it's illegal, but people are doing it all over the world. And the other thing is, it's becoming bigger and bigger, and there is going to be people doing it, in suburbia, and even, whether they're going camping, they're doing something like that, but it's all over the place now. But Dick, what was this your first experience with ayahuasca?
yeah, this was my very first experience, and yes, as Paul says, it was in the UK, and I saved a ton of money. There's no way I could afford to go to the Amazon. I'm not sure my wife would sign those release papers. So yeah, 4 day retreat in the UK, reasonably priced, excellent staff, excellent facilitators, absolutely great crowd. I mean, great setting. It was in a yurt, so it's like a big tent. Just absolutely, like Paul said, everything came together. It was just perfect, brilliant.
So how did the weather cooperate for you guys? Were you guys able to do your thing like you set out in nature?
Yeah, it was the sun cracked out every day forecast rain, and sun came out instead. 3 days. Brilliant.
Awesome. So, Sam, this is your first time on the show. Was this your first ayahuasca experience as well?
No, I went to Peru about 3 years ago.
Okay.
but I didn't really take it seriously at the time. You know, it was just something that kept popping up. It felt like it found me, definitely, because it just kept popping up. I was looking at traveling South America to start with, and I'm just seeing ayahuasca retreats here and there and everywhere, and just went for it. And but wasn't taking it seriously. Didn't research it well enough, I guess. Sort of winged it, but it definitely opened the doors to spirituality and all the rest of it, and the pineal gland. And you know, once you're down that rabbit hole, that's it. And you know, there's no coming back then. And yeah, then met Scholesy through the internet. Met read Dick's book. Next minute, I'm with them guys in a retreat in the UK. So yeah, top weekend.
Were you did you go in? I mean, were you spiritual before, or were you kind of an atheist, or what was your
well, I'd
background?
say the first experience I had opened the doors to it. Like, yeah, did a lot of work before I went there, you know, and I think that is key to it as well. Well, you're sort of going to get out of it what you put in. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like anything in life.
Did you have you smoked it before too, or is just that?
Tried
Just
smoking it, yeah. Didn't have a breakthrough experience. Things get weird pretty quick, don't they? And you hard to get them retakes in that they say you need.
So, what was your main takeaway difference between the two? Like, what was your take on it?
You just think, I was in complete control on the ayahuasca, to be honest. And I think at first that sort of annoyed me a bit, because I sort of wanted to be lost in it, you know, sort of be taken somewhere, but it was never the case. It was all, I was very in the room, and I was just very in control. But it was, like I say, that's where you've got to put the work in yourself to get what you want out of it, you know. It's not going to be handed on a plate.
Gotcha.
So one of the lessons.
Paul, do you think what he was saying about the ayahuasca and you being a little bit more control, obviously you've used high doses of psilocybin before too. Do you think that it's something where ayahuasca is more similar to mushrooms, where you can kind of touch back and forth with reality if you need to for a second and then jump back in? Or is it something where, like, from what I understand, obviously I've never smoked DMT, but you take 3 hits and you're blast off and there's just no coming back. You're in it. You know, we've talked about that before. So what's your take on that?
I think, well, I don't know. With ayahuasca, normally you can, you know, if you breathe right and, you know, you get your eyes open, you can pull yourself back into a room to an extent. But if you go right in, like I did on my first ceremony this time, the first one, I couldn't believe it. I broke some sort of a breakthrough record, I think. It was like 3 minutes after this. The drink was split into 2 here instead of just in one. You had the Maui inhibitor and then the tea, yeah. By the time of the second drink, it's about 15, 20 minutes later. And then they said it'd be another 20 minutes, but it weren't. It were, by the time I got back to my bed, it already started working. It was like fucking 3 minutes. But with DMT, yeah, you're lost again, smoking it for 5 minutes or so, completely immersed in it. But for a solid 2 hours, I was completely gone, and I went very, very deep this time. You know what I mean? So there was no way I could come out of it. I just surrendered to it completely. When I finally made it to the bathroom, I got in there and I was just, wow, it was very powerful medicine, put it that way. And it took me completely by surprise. I thought I couldn't be surprised anymore, but they had the way with me, put it that way. And it was intense. It was that the first night was beyond intense. And I just let it take me where it wanted to. And it took me to some amazing places. They showed me what's in my garden, and it's pretty special. Like we all have, but I was shown mine, you know what I mean? So everything that's been going on with me for the past 3.5 years, you know, like we spoke to on the other podcasts, it just all became clear. And I understand things a lot more now. Why what's been going on with me and whatnot and that. So but back to the question, yeah, it's more like mushrooms, I'd say. Because, you know, like with mushrooms, you can change the music, or, you know, like McKenna always said, start whistling or singing or anything, and it'll change where your experience, what you're stuck at.
Right.
Ayahuasca's a bit more like that. Yeah, DMT just one bam in there, but ayahuasca, no, it'll. When the music changes, because there was a lot of music being played at this retreat, you know, with instruments and all sorts, guitars, sitars, and whatnot, and Jewish wind instruments, and they were amazing, and they just move. You flow through your experiences as the music's being played, and it really does help you.
Nice.
Like I say, McKenna spoke about that with mushrooms. If you're ever having a bad experience and you're stuck, start whistling or singing or humming anything, and the vibrations, the music will get your experience moving. Yeah.
That's all we're doing right now anyways, is just accepting vibrations, which is influencing patterns and vibe and everything. That's why they call it, you know, everybody says vibe. That's what it is.
Well,
go ahead.
Sorry, on the third night, you know, I had a tiny little bit, and I had a whole new experience again, where I didn't break through visually, but I was at one with all the vibrations and the sound and all the energy in the room, and I was just at one with all the energy. I could feel it. I was it, and I was just. It was the 3 nights were very, very spectacular, as far as I'm concerned. Even surprised me from what I've experienced before. Took it to another level.
So, Dick, you've obviously, you know, you've written your book about it and your experiences. But after smoking it that many times and then trying ayahuasca, what was like the major difference for you, and how does that change your perspective on it, if at all?
I don't think my perspective on what's at the heart of the DMT experience has changed, but for sure with ayahuasca, it's gentler. It's, I don't want to say mellower, but you can work with it more, you can navigate with it more, and I suspect in terms of personal development, you can get a lot more from ayahuasca. If you're asking me which is my preference, I think because I started smoking it, because I've experienced so much through smoking it, I think I still prefer that like roller coaster ride of, you know, wham bam. I prefer that, but I would definitely do ayahuasca again. I would go tomorrow if I could. I really would. It was amazing, really amazing.
So that's an interesting point. So it's kind of what I was saying with the, you know, not being as potent. Obviously, like I said, since I've never smoked it, I don't really understand the full power of this roller coaster. But in terms of, you know, all your experiences and everything, did you gain some sort of insight that wasn't maybe there when you smoked it? You know, like you said, you could work with it more. So did it actually, you know, were you able to have more like thought experiment stuff going on, and you know, that kind of stuff, like able to ponder more?
On my second night, yeah, but I went there with lots of questions, and I asked the organizer. Everybody had a sort of an interview, you know, individual interview with the organizer, and I asked, you know, what do you think's happening? Is it like one entity that's going to interact with every individual, or is it several entities acting with individuals, or a couple of people or two? And I didn't feel I got a satisfactory answer. But after drinking my first 2 brews on the first night, I mean, I was very quickly, I could feel the entity, you know, it was upon me. It was kind of affixing itself into my physiology. And then for 5 hours, I was just writhing in ecstasy. I mean, it was just, oh, it was beautiful, man. I must have looked like I was making love to the mattress.
Maybe you were.
Oh,
didn't it?
yeah, I mean, I didn't learn anything, but I tell you what, I was honestly writhing in ecstasy. So first night, 5 hours of that, it was beautiful. Second night, very, very different. And yeah, I mean, probably one of my best ever DMT experiences. I was, as you say, able to do some work with thought experiments, and I consciously took my mind to some very deep and dark depths. And even when I'd gone there, I consciously took it even further. And it's difficult to put into words, and if I did, you'd think the guy's a nutcase. But yeah, that was one of the best experiences of my life. DMT, it was just incredible.
Has the thought ran through your mind that, and I don't even know if this is something people have done or do, but maybe while you were there also smoking it, or is it just so intense while you're under it that even smoking it you wouldn't even register?
You mean smoking it whilst on ayahuasca?
Yes.
I mean, you know, I've smoked DMT while on peaking on an acid trip, and I mean, yeah, I mean, it just takes it to another level, and yeah, you know, I think you'd only need like one little pull of a pipe, and you'd just be the entities on you. It's just going to take you to another whole nother level, I'm sure.
Yeah, because I wonder if the MAOI inhibitor that's in the ayahuasca would also increase the potency if you did take a hit. So you wouldn't need to take 3 full hits. You could take 1 hit or whatever and blast off from there.
Could be, but
it's not just all about visuals though. Ayahuasca works at every level. You know what I mean? It's a spiritual thing. You know what I mean? Unless you're going to have a relationship with the DMT entities and, you know, do a ritual with them, that's what ayahuasca ceremonies are. You're invoking, you know, the Lady Nature. She's in charge of the experience. Like she's in charge of the whole experience here. But you don't need to be smoking DMT for an ayahuasca. If you're supposed to be getting the right visions and insights and whatnot, then they'll be given to you. But yeah, I mean, if you start disrespecting it, it doesn't work for you the same anyway. Do you know what I mean?
I'm not talking about disrespecting it.
Yeah, I don't mean disrespecting it, but I mean
like,
you know,
pushing the limits. You know, like
Dick
Dick did it what 600 times over a few years. You know, like that's pushing the limits as it is. So that's why I'm curious. Is it something that obviously you're used to it, so maybe there is another plateau? Like once you get comfortable with it, that there's some other higher level than that. You know.
You know
again, sorry.
No, so I was just going to say, you know what I mean? Despite all those experiences, despite, you know, three nights of ayahuasca, I still don't think I've scratched the surface of you know, the DMT mystery. Nowhere near.
Gotcha.
I think it's all about do, isn't it? You know, shedding skins, the more you do it, the more, you know, it's up to you how far you want to go. Some people just want to do it for personal development. Some people want to go further with it, you know, it's up to you. Yeah, well, I think that anyway, from my experience.
Well, this is it, but what I'm saying... Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
If dosing up, you don't need to dose up. You can just, I mean, again, like in the Amazon, I took less dosage every night, and it doesn't give you anything less, really. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to have. I mean, it worked with Sam on his third ceremony. Yeah, he had a double dose and that, but you know, I find that you just find that with each medicine, you find your right plateau, yeah, and that's enough. Because after the experience I had the first night, it was so intense. I said to her, I went up to her, the lady, I said, I need less tonight. It was I was bombarded with entities, basically.
So yeah, that's interesting, because you know, like other things like psilocybin, or you know, if you ate 3 or 4 dried grams, the next day you do the same thing, it's not going to have nearly the same effect, you know.
Yeah.
So obviously it's different in that way. Maybe that has to do with the MAOI inhibitor also. You know, it's like a chemistry thing. So like maybe once the other stuff like lighter psychedelics get into your system and they stay in there, you know, a little bit longer, obviously this thing's all about purging and cleansing and everything like that. So maybe it runs through your system a little bit differently. So Sam, why don't you talk about, like, did this have any profound effect, like, on your mental state, like coming out of this? Do you feel like a, you know, rejuvenated or some renewed sense, or like, what's your takeaway from it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Even people come up to me saying, what have you been doing? Why are you so different? You know what I mean? They can feel it off me, and I'm getting, and this is what it all is. It's all feeling, you know, we can't even put into words what these feelings really are until you're sort of in these states. You know what I mean? You just can't describe them in words. People are feeling that. You know what I mean? And I've connected with people since I've been back on another level. Even my son. The realization that he's here to teach me, and it's just the sense of oneness is just overwhelming. You can say all you want, we are one, but until you're in that environment, then you really get it. We are one. It's one consciousness that we're all part of.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there a feeling like you said, people see you, like, can feel your vibe? It's, obviously it's elevated. It's, people are feeling a different frequency, but do you feel better, like, in general? Like, do you feel like it did something to you?
100%. Yeah. I mean, the little stupid things you worry about are just so, insignificant now. The past is just, I don't even go there anymore. What it's just irrelevant. You know what I mean?
Right.
The only thing you take from them is the lessons. You know what I mean? That's all you need to be taking. And all these realizations, and like I say, things are just falling into place. It feels. I'm meeting the right people all the time. People want to go down this road, and because at first, for a while, I was on my own with it, you know what I mean? But now more people are getting open to it and, listening to what I've got to say and stuff. So it's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing about this whole community and subject, is that people do come together, and there is a sense of, helping each other out. There's no, foolery or bullshit, or, I'm sure there is some bullshit, but,
Oh, yeah.
when it comes to, for the most part, compared to everyday society, I think it's a little bit different, because these are intense teachers that are pushing people in a certain direction. Do you think, Paul, do you think that, did you have any breakthroughs with, what you and I talk about sometimes, and the more occult meaning type stuff? Like, did you have any experiences with that, or was it just more laid back?
It was not laid back at all, mate. It was fucking extremely intense. The experience I told you before about where I feel like I'm in some sort of like school of remembering. The first night, like I say, I couldn't believe how deep and how quickly I went deep. They were just straight on me before I was trying to crawl to the bathroom at one point, because it hit me straight away before I even like settled down. I'm going to meditate for 10 minutes, and it just hit me. And started puking up, purging straight away. And I'm like, wow. And I even thought, as I was purging it up, that I'm going to have another drink now, because there's no way that's gone down enough. And then I started going through. So I'm like, oh, I need to get bathroom then. So I'm crawling on my face that far off floor. And then another gear kicks in. You get up. I found a facilitator the other side of the yurt who took me through to the bathroom. And I just stayed in there for I don't know how long, just trying to get myself together. But then I knew we had to get back to the bed. So I got back to my bed, curled up in fetal position, the trusted. And then away I went. It was the most amazing experience I've ever gone through, and also the most traumatic at the same time, because they crucified me as well. They showed me what it's been all about on my journey of reawakening and everything. It all became clear. Why I've been told I'm a shaman and all this, and it was very deep. I was shown again the people that are pulling the strings in the world. I was shown all about them. I know a bit more about them now, and they're already an insight was revealed to me. They're already packing up to leave, mate. They're already they know it's over, and it's just a matter of time now. Again, it's not going to be advertised anywhere, is it? But deep down, the highest echelons of the elite families, they know that it's time to start packing the bags and making plans for vacating the premises. You know what I mean? And again, I just met. I mean, I've met souls before. I met souls in the Amazon. I met my own soul. Spent 2 nights with my soul this time. The first 2 nights, and again, what I perceive the souls of predominant people on the scene now. It would be on nuts. I mean, but I've got a very clear remembrance of it all this time. All the interactions and the place where I was. It's the door. What again? What Richard speaks about in his book, Spirit in the Sky. It's the door. That's where I go to. That's it's in no uncertain terms, and I understand why I go there now as well. Again, I've been in denial about all these experiences I've been having. You know, I'm like, I'm having delusions of grandeur here and all this, and why, you know. But I found out why. A lot was revealed to me about what it's all about. And something very big is coming. And I mean, it is coming soon. And it's going to be fucking amazing. But
let me ask you a question.
We're seeing a lot of chaos now. You know, we're still in a state of chaos, like we have been for a long time, aren't we? But you know, we know what comes from chaos.
Let me ask you a question. Everything you said, you know, obviously we've talked about before, but the one point I want to ask you, and this has been coming more to the forefront. There's a lot more people talking about this. Do you think it's in I'm open to anything, but some people are saying that these entities or this realm is a projection of our subconscious or some other level within ourselves. Do you believe that, or do you believe all this stuff is external? Obviously, you have some experience with this and you've thought about this kind of stuff before. So do you think, you know, you were talking about the duat, you know, some people say halls of Amenti or the Hall of Wrecker, you know, there's all these different little realms.
Netiquette, I mean, that's where another Netiquette's another name for the duat, and that's where the word nature comes from. Net here, it's the realm of natural energy. You know, we're all nature. You know, but I mean, if you look at all the ancient texts from different cultures and civilizations, all the spiritual elders have said what happens in the spirit world follows on here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And from what I saw 2 years ago, and I saw things happen, and I was showing a lot more things happening this time. Well, I mean, I'm not. Again, I can't explain where it is and everything. I just know what I'm experiencing is real, and it's even more real than this.
Right.
And what I've realized is this isn't the outside, and that's like the inside. That's the outside. We're inside here. Do you know what I mean? We're inside this experience. That's the outside.
Right.
Because if you're inside something, you're restricted. Yeah, there's all sorts of restrictions in this experience, isn't there? There's not. That's the outside. That's where we're free. We come here, you know, to not be free and to learn. Learn about control and, you know, learn about our dark sides, our dark natures, which we've all got, but we suppress it because, you know, we're all directed to look at all the good, light, shiny things when we should be looking at both. But that is actually the outside, and this is an inside. You know what I mean? It's again, you can't explain it in words, really. It's the experience you're all through. It's a feeling experience as much as anything. I mean, I had some amazing visuals. Like I say, I was bombarded by these beings, which are, you know, they're angels. I mean, they don't look like angels, but they are. You know that you're in the presence of divine authority.
Right.
And it's like I told you last year, a fellow drinker in Amazon said he saw me communicating with angels. Well, I weren't communicating with them this time, mate. I was fucking raving with them, mate. It was I felt like I was there for 2 years as well. When I came back round, I was like, I thought at the end of the ceremony, he said, no, it's halfway point. You can't another drink now. And I went, another fucking drink, mate. I'm fucking done. It was intense. They threw me a big ceremony there. It was like an initiation of becoming. And then they crucified me, and I had to endure my father dying the most excruciating death possible. I was there holding him. It was, and I felt all the pains and traumas.
So it was like a religious experiment, almost. Like what are you saying? Like,
no, it's not religious. I mean, well, what is religion to me? I mean, I don't even.
No, I don't mean that, but I mean, like you say, crucified. Do you mean in the sense that, like,
yeah, it's just a figure of speech, isn't it, mate? It means
okay.
They put me on the, you know what I mean? They put me on the rack.
I just wanted to clarify that. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Sorry, yeah. They brought me basically. I was like, you know, and but my father died, you know, and actually, you know, full of suffering, and it was all the suffering of the bloodline and everything, you know, the ancestors. But he died in my arms, and then I passed over with him to the realm of the souls, and then birthed him into his new experience. And then he were all the understanding came to him then, and then it was like again, it was a massive, overwhelming release of emotions.
I bet.
And then, so then I came round, and then I'm lay there for the rest of the night, and I've just been shown the biggest revelation. I don't think it can ever be beaten, to be honest. Which that'll come out in due course. But blown away with the enormity of the revelation I've been hit with, but then I just experienced my dad dying. I mean, I can, you know, it's all right, one thing your parents dying, but it's the suffering that he went through. It was horrendous, you know. And I'm sure people go through it all the time, but I think it was showing me my biggest fear, because as a child, I always feared my parents dying in pain. So it was like, I don't know, it was like a clearing of things, I suppose. Maybe they put me through my biggest fear. But I woke up and I'm like, and I was just telling them to leave me now, I'm done. And then I came around and I spent the rest of the night wondering, have I just remotely seen my father's death for me? Have I just experienced it? Or is it just something that's part of my development? And as I started coming round into the, you know, I didn't really sleep that night. I didn't sleep all week, but I started realizing, no, it was a less. I didn't even give him a call the next day. I just called my wife, and she'd have told me if anything had happened. You know what I mean? But it was that real. It was the feeling and everything. It was beyond intense. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
It was like yeah, it was wow, man. But the revelation that I was with as well was it was fucking biblical, basically. But I'm still processing that and just trying to get my feet grounded firmly onto the earth before I move ahead with that. But things are going to be changing without a doubt in my little world.
Nice. Dick, so what are your thoughts on that? I'm sure you've seen stuff about that too, the subconscious projecting these entities, or something in your brain projecting these entities. I know you know, part of Aaron Voot's book talks about the brain and the different parts of the brain that are correlated to different gods and religions and stuff like that too. But what are your thoughts? Like, do you think that, or do you think that this is all external as well?
I mean, it's such a good and expansive question, and I'm tempted to suggest that could it not be both? Could it not be that these entities, and I think Paul's right, that they certainly seem to have divine authority, divine or semi-divine. Could it not be that these entities have been responsible over countless aeons for molding our minds, you know, and therefore they're part of our subconscious, and yet also external, because, you know, I'm convinced, based on my research, that these entities are indeed autonomous, you know, in individuals, like there are individual humans, but it does seem that they are, I mean, they just know our psyche and our physiology. So I would have to suggest that they have had some part in shaping us over countless aeons. So I'm going to take a stab at, I think it's both. I'm hedging my bets there. You know, they've shaped our subconscious and they remain external. But, you know I'm not qualified to really have any serious opinion on this from a philosophical point of view. But yeah, that's my pitch on it today.
Yeah, I mean, but and here's the thing, and I think people, if you're tapped into these things, like you're tuned in and you're familiar with these substances, I think you do have the ability to convey these messages or talk about it at least. And you know, from somebody like me who's done other things but not this exact thing, I have an idea of what changing your consciousness or being in a different state, you know, is, so I can sympathize with your guys' experiences. I might not know what it's like, but I can tell by the way you guys talk about it that, you know, the intensity, the emotion, you know, the experience behind it. So while I do think that like I said, your whole you know, thought process that you're not qualified, I think you are qualified, and I think you've done it enough that you know, if somebody was really interested in this from a medical point of view or like a philosophical, you know, point of view, going to people that have done it enough times is probably the best policy to get answers, you know. You know, the other thing too is, you know, I'm sure you guys are familiar with, I think one of you turned me on to him, but the Andrew Gallimore, and they're trying to come up with this technology to put somebody within the DMT realm for, you know, an hour or something ridiculous like that intravenously. Do you think that that's sustainable for the human psyche, or do you think that's overkill?
Is that with the extended state DMT projects?
Yeah. Yep.
You know, I'm really lucky. I'm friends with one of the participants, and I think he'd probably rather not say who it is. But I mean that is, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, to begin with, I was like, if I was asked, would I want to do it, or would I rather go up in a skyrocket, you know, in space? And I think I said I'd rather go up in a skyrocket in space. I think it'd be less scary. I think the extended state DMT, that really takes some kahunas, to be honest, to do that. I don't know. It's like, it's all too easy to say, yeah, sign me up. But I suppose it's like, you know, with the training for astronauts, you know, they got to choose the right people. And I'm sure, you know, I believe from speaking to my friend that they go through a lot of training, a lot of, you know, psychological profiling. And I think that's, you know, it's got to be done. You know, you got to be a real hero to be signing up for that. And you've really got to be, I don't know, made us something solid. And I don't know whether I would or I wouldn't. I think I don't know if it's going to go ahead, to be honest. I mean, I'd like to think it will be, but I think the ethical considerations and maybe the legal considerations, I don't know if they've all been ironed out. I'd like to see it go ahead, but I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I know Graham Hancock was talking about it when he was just on Joe Rogan last week, about that, and how I think it's going to be at Imperial College. I think they've got the go-ahead. I just don't know if the technology's set up yet for the extended release was the whole thing. But Sam, what are your thoughts on that? Having done these ayahuasca ceremonies and everything, do you think that that's like a little too intense, or do you think that's something that, you know, you could pull off?
Well, I think anyone should be able to do whatever the fuck they want, really, to be honest. But it's too much for me. That, yeah, I mean, I've only surfed the edges of the DMT realm through smoking it. You know what I mean? Yeah, not for me, that, no. But fair play to anyone who goes there.
When you started doing this stuff, did you try and push the boundaries in terms of like maybe an extra hit or a little bit more, like, and like I said, I'm not talking about like disrespecting these tools. I'm talking about, you know, we all want to know where we come from, where we're going. We want answers, you know. So I think sometimes, I know when I've dabbled in the past, it's always like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and I want to know kind of what I can get out of this or what's going on in terms of, and maybe that's a little bit, you know, intense, but that's kind of how I approach it. But like, what was your philosophy behind that? Have you always kind of pushed the boundaries, or is it just something you want to, you know, dip your toe into and see what, you know, to go from there?
I've always had a bit of an addictive personality, you know, with other substances, sorry. But no, this is, after reading up, you know, the people's experiences, you have to take a step back with this stuff and just make sure it is for you. You know what I mean? Because it isn't for everyone.
Right.
But if you really do want to find this stuff out, this is where you've got to go. You know what I mean? So you've got to weigh it up. You know, it's not recreational at all, is it? It's finding deep meanings to big things.
Yeah.
I mean, I you know, for me, it's like I've always said, I've never done it, but if it found its way to me sometime in the future, you know, that's, you know, I'd consider it. I'm not against doing it. But I've done a lot of this stuff when I was younger. Like I said, pushed the boundaries, mixed this and that, and tried to do this and that. And, you know, I've definitely gone to some places, that's for sure. But it's one of those things where, it is your mind, and you don't want to take too many chances too with it. You got to find that balance where it's like pushing the limits, but not going so overboard where you're,
Well,
out of your mind after,
the ayahuasca though, it was safe. It was the safe. I've had more intense LSD trips than that. You know what I mean? I knew I was in good hands. It's I don't want to it's nothing to be fearful of. No, you know what I mean? It's not
right.
Because when you're in that, you know you're getting looked after, man. You know you're in the right place. It just feels right. So yeah, I don't want to make anyone scared to do the ayahuasca at all. But the DMT is a bit different for me personally. I mean, it's more intense. With the ayahuasca, you can play with that stuff, man. I think it can be really beneficial for a lot of people.
Do you think the people, like you said, you're in good hands? Do you think that's very helpful in that regard? Meaning, like, most people when they do mushrooms, they might do it with a couple friends, but there's usually not some sober person or somebody, watching out for things. And I assume, at the ceremony, everybody's kind of in it a little bit, but maybe there's some people that are more with it to help out and stuff like that. Do you think that plays into the mindset, or do you think that it's just not as intense and therefore doesn't require the extra help?
Well, yeah, just the fact that you've got people there, it puts you at ease on it straight away. Yeah, if the right environment is, it's all part of it, isn't it? It needs to be in the right environment. You need to be in the right mindset to start with as well. You know what I mean? It's
set and setting.
Oh,
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Paul, when you had this ceremony, like you've said, you've been to South America. What do you think the main differences was, and did it matter, between the one you did and, Europe and the one you did in South America?
Not at all, mate. I was very curious about that. I was wondering if the relationship with the medicine, was going to be any different from not being in the Amazon. You know what I mean? Because the energy of the Amazon, you can feel when you get there anywhere. It's just it's humming, with life. We know that, but I mean, you can feel it. I mean, I'm not very good at meditating, but there it was a lot easier. And I thought, is it going to be different? And it wasn't. It was an amazing, like you say, setting is massive. It's key. It was a really welcoming place. There was 17 of us drinking all in total, 6 facilitators who all knew plenty about what they were doing. They'd done it countless times, you could tell, and it was second nature to them. And it was just a real good group of people, beautiful people inside and out. I didn't feel one single bad vibe all the 3 days. Not one single anything. It just flowed. It was smooth. A lot of people opening each other's minds in between the ceremonies and talking and helping each other's heal. A lot of people shedding traumas like you always get at these ayahuasca ceremonies, because it's the ultimate medicine for physical and mental trauma. It really is. It's the medicine. But comparably, I thought it was amazing. I was blown away by how amazing it was. I mean, what the musical instruments as well, and the shamanic Icaros are brilliant anyway. I've been listening to them all month since I got home and finding them on YouTube, different ones. They're just cool. They remind you of where you are and what you're doing, you know what I mean, when the Icaros kick in. But this place, they had like I say, the sitar. I mean, I missed it the first night. I was that far out, far gone. I was so deep, I was out there, and when I came back round, I didn't, everyone said, "Did you hear the sitar?" I'm like, no, I didn't. What, they played the sitar? And the next night, I heard it then, and it's amazing, mate. The sound, what it was doing, it was like, wow. I was just rocking with all this music, I feel like, not the first night, but the last 2 nights I was just with the flow of the sounds, and it was a different side to it, because ayahuasca is not all about going right in and, like I say, it's about having the feeling of it, and I wanted to experience the energy in the room, yeah, in this dimension, and so I just had the right dose to do that. And but yeah, without a doubt, if you don't really want to go to the Amazon, there's places popping up all over Europe as well. I know people have been going to Amsterdam and that. You've just got to go off word of mouth and get recommendations. I don't recommend going blind to somewhere like that, or anywhere, to be honest, but find out of people who've done it, get good recommendations, and that's the way to do it.
Yeah, they need like a Angie's list for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, it'll put that, mate. That's
Jammy's list.
It is. It's going to change. It is, because it's the medicine. It's the ancient. It's magic, man. It's the magic's the oldest religion there is, and it's coming back. And ayahuasca is a fundamental part of that. Everybody knows it. Everyone knows it, mate. Behind the scenes, underneath it all these celebrities, all these experts. You know, you've got to experience it basically. If you really want to try and begin to understand it. Otherwise, we can just listen to people like me who I haven't got the vocabulary for it. You know what I mean? But
right.
I can't even say that right. But I understand the feelings of it, mate. Oh yeah, and we are creatures of feeling. This is where it all comes from, and that's the oldest language in existence. We're going back to the language of feeling. We won't need, because when you take away that, you can't bullshit people anymore.
Right.
We only have truth. But yeah, it really, back to the question, like, I always wander off. It really, really blew my mind how comfortable I felt from the off. Really, in a sacred space, and the energies were just amazing. And I had a real show put on for me, put it that way.
Awesome. I mean, it sounds like you guys had a good time. That's for sure.
We was all in the same corner as well. But when we got there, you had our names in front of your bed. They put us three together in the corner near the fire, which they had like a big log fire inside, like a stove fire.
Right.
And it was really cozy, mate. And it was just, they went round with these incenses, wafting it around and blowing it on you, and sing all the facilitators played instruments and sang songs, and they had amazing voices, and they were really talented as well. It was like, whoa, it was very, very groovy, and really well
nice
set
positive
up.
Experience for you.
Yes, man. Yeah, I mean, frightening as well. It was frightening. My first night was it was traumatizing, but straight away as I'm coming round that night, I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm done with it. But like, by the time I got to the morning, after I had a kick for about an hour, I'm like, bring it on. That was all meant to be that. I felt like I'd shed a shitload of skins. And the next night I was bombarded with spirits again, but they weren't being intense with me. They were just grooving with me and meeting me and taking me places, showing me other souls and stuff. It went on and on. The third night, like I say, I didn't go through. I just stayed in the room.
So Dick, after doing this ayahuasca, like you said, you want to try it again. You liked it. It was a little bit more mellow than smoking it, but you enjoyed it a lot. Has it inspired you at all? I mean, like how, doing the other stuff inspired you to write your first book? Has this experience kind of rejuvenated that, like as a creative person, or, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm still trying to finish my second book, and I've toyed with the idea of should I or should I not include this ayahuasca experience, and I think I'm minded to discount it from my second book. I don't want to feel obliged to write up each and every experience, and because this was my first ever experience with ayahuasca, I just want to say, okay, well, let's like have those experiences, let's park it, let's have some more experiences, and then I can contrast this experience with future retreat experiences, and maybe learn from that before I start thinking about putting it together in terms of a literary project. But just to add, I mean, what Paul was touching on, I mean, there were people in there, there were people having great time, but there were people crying, there were people puking. I mean, there was I think it was one woman, she was bawling her eyes out. I mean, like pure trauma. And I'm laid there and I'm thinking, oh, this is so fucking beautiful. Not in any like, oh, you poor unfortunate soul. Not like that, but like the humanness of it, that a group of strangers can come together in a big yurt, a big tent like that, partake of that tea and go through so much deep stuff together. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I think like you and Paul have both said, I think Sam said that it's becoming more accepted, it's becoming wider known. I couldn't help thinking that, man, these tents, they've got to be popping up all over the country, all over the Western world, with sincere staff and sincere facilitators. I just see it as such a positive thing for Western culture.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there are like, you know, ketamine's legal now, so this stuff's gonna be probably
Is it?
to the forefront.
Well,
Yeah,
okay, so there's a ketamine nasal spray that the FDA approved. I think it's pretty expensive though too.
Oh, I'm sure they're gonna make as much as they can off the wellness of people, you know.
Yeah, and I know I've
that's
heard of people doing one dose of ketamine, like one large dose, and being completely cured of depression too. So I think it's probably one of the more positive ones if you do have mental health issues. You know, that might be something you talk to your doctor about too, if nothing else has worked for you so far. Sam, what are your thoughts on, you know, the scene there, like, and everything? Obviously, you've been, you know, to South America and experienced that. Was this different in any way, or is it just similar?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it was obviously you can the communications there. You know, in Peru, it's a bit difficult. You know what I mean? You've got translators and all that, so you're with the right people. You know, you can get the communication there, and which is a major part.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, they were the coolest people I've ever met. The people who run it were just incredible. They knew exactly what they're doing. The songs took you through all the emotions on just another level. Like I say, the sitar was just going through me. I was inside the music, and you know that's what we are. We are music, aren't we? So
Right.
So the sitar is a staple in these ceremonies. I never heard anything about the sitar before.
No, me neither.
They just did it. I mean, I've never heard of anyone having a sitar before. No.
What do you prefer? Like, let me ask you that. Like, what do you obviously, you know, South America, you doing Ica roses and chanting and these, you know, traditional songs, but do you prefer that, or do you prefer more maybe some sort of music that you're into, whether it be rock and roll or whatever?
They mixed it up a bit there, you know what I mean? It was in the jungle. I think it was all sort of quite similar, but it was three completely different nights here. All had different. I mean, the last one was so intense when everyone was going for it, and there was even people taking part, you know, singing, and it was people dancing, and it was just unbelievable. You know, we were partying at the end of the day. That's what we were doing,
right?
You know,
what would do you think the effect of like I guess my question is, so Maurice and I are into like jam bands like Grateful Dead, Fish. Some of the music's pretty intricate and intense, and it's improv too. So there's a definite vibe from that, you know, completely making up something on the spot. But just the music alone, do you think like something intense like classical music or something that's very, I don't want to say like, you know, not pop music, basically, like something that's, you know, more musically inclined, do you think that would push you into a different headspace than something that's like just some beat or, you know, something like that? Does that work like that, or is that not how it works?
The music, like, it's carrying you, man. The music's carrying you through the journey. It's right there. It's all part of it. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you could put something on that put you in a bad place, but they know what they're doing with it. You know, they know what music they need to be putting in that teepee. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Paul? Do you agree with that? So, like, I know you're big into music and stuff too. Do you think when you listen to
he's
something,
got rap on, man.
do you think when you're listening to your favorite guys while you're under these, you know, these different plants, do you think that it has a different feel than something that's more traditional, you know, or do you prefer one or the other?
I don't know. When I have mushrooms, mate, I put Icaros on YouTube.
Okay, all right.
I don't know, because the experience I've had with ayahuasca and, you know, mushrooms are similar. It feels like home more. You know what I mean? I get, you know, the shaman are taught the songs through the entities they meet, the realms they go to. They say the plants teach them the songs. Well, the plants are the entities are behind the plants. Yeah,
right.
There's intelligence behind it, behind everything. And what I've been finding on YouTube is some like where they've been mixed a bit, where you've got the Icaro, but nothing heavy, just a subtle extra drum beats being put in and you know, synthesize or whatnot. And I'm finding that's really cool. But you could listen to any music, mate. To be honest. But like Sam said, you want it putting in your positive mindset, yeah. So you got to be careful what you do pick. Don't get a tragic song on or anything.
Well, I mean, like, I guess like, what if you put on like Fur-Elise or some sort of Beethoven, something like that, as opposed to
it might be. I would imagine something like Beethoven. You might be really surprised with what it does for your experience. I mean, it would be interesting that. But like Sam said as well, there was a shaman, a Polish shaman, singing Icaros at this retreat. But then they play some more just Spanish guitar music, and then they'd have music in the speakers in between this, and that was playing like very calm, like meditative type music, or Tibetan, what they call now,
bowls.
Tibetan bowls. That's it, stuff like that, just soothing you and keeping you moving and just keeping you on that plateau and that. But yeah, I would imagine any kind of music, because music's music, isn't it? It's it always helps.
But I think
psychedelic.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because for me, when I'm under, or when I have been, let's say I'm at a Fish concert or something like that, and
Fish, yeah.
I'm under the influence a little bit. I get a better vibe there than, let's say, if I was at like some basic rock or metal. Like there's something about their music that plays into that realm, because their music's already kind of a foot in that realm, if that makes sense.
Well, they're probably they're under the influence.
Yeah, not anymore, but early on, they for sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's all there. They know the right keys to and whatnot, and the vibe, how to tap into your vibes. But yeah, music without a doubt. It's like Sam said. When you played this guitar, you felt like you were the music. And on the third night, I was just in such a flow with all the vibrations around me and the energy. I could feel all the energy around me. I could feel it. It was like I were in it. And these waves of sound coming off hitting me, I was just one with them. And they became. It was like when water drips, a droplet drips into water, and it just becomes it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like that with the sound vibrations, and then a lot of healing went on the third night as well, and I think the music helped with that. There was a lot more, seemed to be more music being played, more constant, and you could just feel all the energy being healed in the room. It was just, I was like, wow, I was very aware of it, and I think the music helped on a lot as well. But yeah.
If I can just add to that, I mean, for me personally,
yeah.
Music was an absolute revelation. I mean, I was just not familiar with really that genre of music. What is it? Icaro, shamanic Icaros.
Yeah.
And they were playing some of the traditional music, and I was like, oh my God, it's like the people who have crafted those vocals and that music, they just totally know that tryptamine state, that highly defined, uber playful, just they know it. It represents it so perfectly. It's an absolute revelation to me. It really was.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, being a musician myself, and Maurice has a background with music too. Whether you smoke or maybe take something else or do something, what comes out of you is kind of a byproduct of that thing, in a sense. That so if I'm you're changing your consciousness, so whatever,
shifting your vibration,
and whatever you're tuning into is kind of going to have an influence on what you're doing, even if it's an original piece or whatever. So I think in that regard, when they say the plant teachers taught them the Icaros, I think that's 100% right. So because that's they were under the influence of it, and that's the vibration that came to them to produce that music, whether it's chanting or the beats or whatever. Now I got a question for you, Dick. So as far as you've done this a decent amount of times, has there ever been a time where you thought, what the hell, like even now, like what, I know you have a profound respect for it, and you still say you don't really understand what's going on, but have you thought that maybe this is some sort of like barrier to another dimension, kind of some buffer zone that we can't really pass through? We can see it, we can maybe touch it, feel it, but it's not to go beyond, kind of a thing.
I think that, I mean, from an occult perspective, I think there probably is a barrier, a limit to human consciousness, beyond which, unless you've sort of ticked all the boxes or opened all the seals of your chakras, you're not going to get there. And I think DMT seems to be like a bit of like a leapfrog. You kind of like leapfrogging a few chakras. Look, I'm not going to pretend I've got all my chakras open. Far from it. You know, I'm just a working class Western guy, and I think, you know, a lot of people say, oh, you know, I'm going to the spiritual realm, and I don't know. I think it's different for different individuals, but I don't think it's like I don't know. I don't think it's a shortcut to the true spiritual realms. I think it's, for me, it's entities coming into this terrestrial realm and profoundly interacting with the DMT recipients. That's my take on it. But
so that's actually interesting you say that. We had a guy on. He runs the Trip Whip channel. His name's Jack, and I'm sure you might have seen his video. If you go on YouTube a lot and watch DMT videos, you've probably seen his. But it's a trip report. But he was on our podcast, and he was talking about, we were talking about pareidolia, where pareidolia is this thing built into our brains where how we process patterns. So when you look up the cloud and it looks like a dog, well, it's not really a dog, but it does look like a dog. That's just the way our brain works. So we were talking about the possibility that this DMT might be dismantling that pareidolia, or that mask, or the veil, lifting of the veil, whatever you want to call it, where now you can truly see what is always there, or open to it, I guess is a better way of putting it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, with pareidolia, I kind of like found that as a peripheral to the main DMT experience. I mean, for me, the DMT experience was through smoking. It was so intense. And then the secondary things, as I'm sort of coming down from that experience, would be pareidolia. I get snippets of random voices in my brain, you know, and some of them were familiar, some were unfamiliar. It was always, or mostly always, uninteresting snippets of speech. There was one occasion where it was like some old lady was rambling in like a drunken state. And I thought to myself, she sounds like she's drunk. And as soon as I thought that, the voice said, she said really indignantly, she said, I beg your pardon. And I was like, oh my God, that is too crazy. You know, it's like there was somebody there that had read my thoughts and took offense that I thought that she sounded drunk. So yeah, there's lots of strange peripheral things to the main DMT experience, and I'd say pareidolia is certainly one of those. But, you know, it's a peripheral part of the main experience rather than the main experience.
Gotcha. Sam, what are your thoughts on you know, this realm being either open to allow energy in, or possibly just exposes you to something that's always there? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you're tuning in to the one universal consciousness here. You know what I mean? That's just going back to what you were saying about the music thing as well. I mean, this is where creativity comes from. You know, in my opinion, you don't necessarily need these psychedelics to get there, but it certainly can open the doors for you. You know,
Right.
more, and accelerate the process. Because since I've been into this spiritual stuff and the 2 ayahuasca sessions, I've started writing songs out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Never thought I could do it. Never had it in me. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Since
Are
I
you a
started,
musician, or you're just writing lyrics, or what's?
yeah, just a hobby. You know what I mean? Just writing tunes. I'm just getting better at it. You know what I mean? Just keep chipping away at it, and all this spirituality and the ayahuasca certainly helped it along its way. You know?
Nice.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, it's
I
a nice door to open.
Yeah. This is what I mean. And this is where I think I don't. Our thoughts aren't us. You know, it's all coming from up there. You know what I mean? So if you can tune into that, it's just it's a download. It isn't. You're not thinking these creations. It's just a download. You're just receiving it. All the information. It feels like I'm receiving it. I'm not finding it. It's coming to me. It's presenting itself to me.
Right.
And that's my sort of feel of it. Yeah, what's going on here? But
do you think that what were your? I didn't ask you, but what are your thoughts? Do you think that it's possible that and I like asking people this because it's just because when you go into a trip, usually there's some sort of baggage, like maybe not every time it's bad or whatever, but there's something you've been thinking about, or there's been something on your mind, and these plant medicines will expose that or bring it up to you or make you face them or whatever it is. Do you think that when you have used it, do you think it had that effect where, like I was asking about like the subconscious and things coming to the forefront? I'm not diminishing whether it's real or not either. I think that whether it's coming from within or coming from without, or outside the external, doesn't matter really, because it's happening and it's real. But do you think that that's the case, like going in, whatever you've been thinking about or whatever manifests itself?
yeah, I think it's sort of dead on there in a way. Yeah, I mean, I was in a good place before I went there. Because I'd been on this spiritual journey, and I'd we've all got demons, and I sort of conquered them before I went there. And it was all apparent to me when I was in there that I did do all the work, and it was empowering. You know what I mean? Because I'd done the work without having to face anything. Because it didn't come up. So it was like, well, that must be all right then. You know what I mean? That must be all good. So, and then that's where the empowerment sort of come from. Then it's like, yeah, be proud of yourself. You did it without the ayahuasca. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, it was all just about love for me. You know what I mean? It was all I could feel was love, and well, all the higher frequencies. You know what I mean? I didn't get the only little delved into a bit of self doubt at one point, which was a bit of a uncomfortable feeling, but I soon got myself out of that too. So it was all positive for me.
Gotcha. Sounds good. What do you think about that, Paul? Do you think that going in, whatever you've been experiencing lately, manifests itself? Or because it seems like you're kind of on this other trip too, this like knowledge or in the enlightenment,
the truth.
The truth. Do you, or does that ever come to you when you're in it, or
in what way? So what's the question again,
so the question is do you think that like whatever you're thinking about or things that have been haunting you, going into it, maybe not even consciously but subconsciously, that those come to the forefront once you're in it? Or do you think that because you're so focused on this other level of thinking about truth and the universe and everything, that kind of takes a back seat?
Well, for 3.5 years I've not been able to stop thinking, like I've told you before, about what's going on at the top of the pyramid. I've had 0 point focus on it for hours and hours and hours every day, and I'm thinking I'm going to send myself insane here. What I found out this time was there's a very good reason I've been thinking about all that, because I've been meant to, and I was shown why all this has been going through my head, and I've been experiencing it, and why I feel so passionately about it, and why I can't shut up about talking about it. Do you remember the message I sent you about a month ago, Mike, about the Majid?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, them are the people them are the spirits I'm communicating with. Majid. The Jewish mystics call them the Majid.
Yeah.
And the people that they communicate with, the Jewish mystics, they're also called Majid, the ones who can receive the messages. And Majid translates as one who tells. And that's why I can't shake off this feeling of wanting to shout about it and share it. You know what I mean? Because that's what I'm here to do. And everything's changed now. I'm realizing they told me, like, stop trying to push it, stop being impatient, because I'm impatient, and they're gonna pave a way for me. And all I could see for 3 nights were solutions to all sorts of things. Again, there's going to be a bit of waiting going on, because I can't dive in. I've been getting a lot of synchronicities and messages about having patience and hanging back. Wait for the right time. Yeah, mate. A lot was revealed to me this time, and it just brought me a lot more peace, a lot of peace, to be honest, and a new level of understanding. And I understand now why I've had everything going through my head that I have, and it's all okay. Everything's going to be okay for everybody. I promise you that. And again, it was more confirmation about who's really running. Yeah, there are people steering things on purpose in the world at the top, but we're all enabling it as well. Yeah, that was more confirmation about all that. It's a two-way thing. Yeah,
right.
And the biggest thing that I got, not the biggest revelation, but a big thing I got that's important to share, that it's not going to happen from the bottom up, which I always thought it was going to come like that. Yeah, it's going to come from the top down. There's going to be a change at the top, and then it's going to more organically, naturally filter down, and things will change that way. And there's nothing to worry about, because like I said before, these people that are trying to keep us all against each other, you know, they're there. Nothing to worry about. There's a new order coming through, that's without a doubt. And another message I got was these, you know, these twisted ones, the wrong way around ones, should we say, they can't wait to get out of here. They're done. But then part of that is it's got to be us doing it as well, yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, like we talked about before, like everything is one, and you need this other, whether it's darkness or evil, or you need the opposite, because the universe is in balance, and they're just playing a role, just like the positive or the good or whatever are playing the role.
Yeah, that's it, man. Like you said before as well, true evil is just ignorance.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And we are, you know, the masses are ignorant, but there are people here, and it's the role to keep us ignorant for as long as they can. Yeah, for as long as they can. That is their purpose. And when we understand that, you stop being angry and trying to kill it. You're just like, all right, but I'm just not playing your game anymore. Let's move on and focus on new things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's about pulling people out of ignorance. We've got to pull ourselves out of it. You know what I mean? But if you've got people here who are influencing people, keeping people asleep, yeah, you know, using magic tricks or whatever, then isn't it just that people come along, like a different type of people that are same by nature but opposite in degree, that are going to come and say, hey, people, but look at this as well.
Right.
Because then they've got to, they're not being mugged off then. They can make their own decision, and whatever that decision is perfectly fine. We're all here to make our own. But as long as we're being influenced by a media, we're not making our own decisions ultimately, are we? So we need to bring it a bit more of an even keel.
Yeah, I don't watch the news. I think it's poison.
Yeah, that's it. You know what I mean? But too many people do. This is it. So it needs people like us to chip up. And, you know, like the manager telling me, get it told. And that's what I'm going to do.
Nice.
I want to do. I want to do. Nothing's changed there. Nothing's changed. It's been reinforced. And now I'm more focused than ever. You know what I mean? I've not stopped focusing on, you know, not changing it really much, just but helping things, and I want to help things on a big level, and I know why now. So let's just wait, stop being so impatient, and let things come to me a bit more. You know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I got news, mate. I got news, but it's not quite the time to share it yet.
Okay. Well, when you're ready,
we'll stay tuned.
Dick, so what are your thoughts on, like, when you go into these realms, have you ever thought on like not as working on yourself or personal stuff, like, you know, like obviously Paul was just talking about these external factors and these truths, and have you ever thought about anything external, and if so, like, have you had any revelations about maybe how the world works or why we're here or stuff of that nature?
So on my second ayahuasca night, there was a lot of heavy tryptamine imagery, very highly defined, and how can I say, it's like in very simple tryptamine rendering, there's kind of so much knowledge about the simplicity of life. And what I mean is in terms of, you know, how food waste, how we eat, how the earth grows food, how we eat food, how we inject waste, how bacteria break it down, but rendered in such beautiful, almost divine tryptamine imagery. And it's like, I dare I say, like books and books of learning are just portrayed with such beautiful simplicity, the mechanics of it all. And you think, oh man, that is just, you know, it's like, if I'd have had this stuff before, I don't know, I don't want to say having left school, but just before going to university, I think I could have made them. I could have done really, really well academically, because there is so much you can learn, and I felt like I was just getting like one facet of, a sort of an encyclopedia of information that's available, downloadable from that realm, and they just do it pictorially and deeply and profoundly, and it's like, wow. But I mean, my personal changes came from like overcoming my fears against smoking DMT, and I didn't realize it at the time. But yeah, each time I said I'm going to smoke this pipe, and my ego screaming at me not to do so, and each time I did smoke that pipe, I guess there was a subtle change occurring within me, and as I say, didn't appreciate it at the time, but I think it gave my spiritual ego some exercise at the expense of my, regular personality, my ego, which was, I don't know, I was like putting it in its place and saying, look, we're smoking this, whether you like it or not.
Right. So when you say that you were scared, are you scared in the sense that it is so intense and so powerful that to go into that world shouldn't be taken lightly, kind of a thing, or more along the lines of what's there, there's no need to keep doing it, or like what was the thought process behind that?
It should never be taken lightly, and I think I took it lightly once, and I had a very hairy experience. I think there's the paradox. It's like, and I think I may have said this before. It's like you smoke DMT. I mean, by and large, 9 times out of 10, the experience is phenomenal. I mean, you come out of that, you're like, oh, that was so damn good. It was amazing. So if something's so good, why would you not like go back again and again and again without any hesitation? But I think the truth is your mind, your consciousness, your subconscious recognizes that experience was not born from your mind. It was not your mind creating that experience. Something was powerfully interacting with you. Something was steering the experience. Something was showing you something that was not really from your mind alone. And I think we recognize that. I think anybody taking DMT consciously or subconsciously feels that there's something else there, and that's something very powerful. And as exciting and enjoyable as those experiences can be, you never kind of like run back and like, I'm gonna do that again because it's so cool. It's quite the opposite. It's like walking to your own funeral.
You're gonna die every time, aren't you, mate? Yeah, you got to surrender every time, aren't you? That's the fear.
Yeah.
Do you think the to me, the scariest thing is the fact that DMT is in so many things, plant life and mammals, and it's
you and me.
It's coursing, yeah, exactly, through us, whether our lungs and our liver.
That's one of the things I took from the retreat, and it feels so right. I mean, that whole experience, that tent, all those strangers, the drink, the music, people laughing, crying, bawling, traumas, ecstasy. I'm writhing in ecstasy. It feels like this is for humanity. It's there for a reason, and it's good. It's medicinal. It's all good.
Yeah, I mean, so when people talk about like DMT and like spirituality or religious experiment, now they're trying to correlate it to stories and allegories from the Bible. Do you think that this realm, whether they were extracting or somehow achieving this realm in ancient days, do you think that that's what they thought God was, possibly, like in terms of I mean, there still might be some higher creative source, but maybe since DMT's in most things or whatever, what you're tapping into is actually God, and that's where like the Hindu idea of this one energy, this one God, and even other religions for that matter, that they are experiencing this realm that and obviously I'm not, nobody has the answers, but do you think that that could be the basis for that?
I think the intelligences that are interacting with us, I think they're from or at a divine or semi-divine realm. So when they interact with us and interact with us really powerfully, you do, I mean, you know, to open that divinity, even partially with a human being, you're tempted to come out of the experience and think, oh my God, you feel like you've kind of interacted with something godly, something divine, but whether it's the God, and depends what we mean by the God, what the creator of the earth, the creator of the sun,
yeah, creator, source, creator. I just,
or
you
the
know,
galaxy or the universe. No, I think these are individual entities of divine capacity and power from a divine realm. And yeah, I think it's tempting to sort of come away and think, yeah, you know, I feel like I've come away and say, I just experienced God. Whether it is that or not,
well, you got to
don't
think
know.
too their perspective from, you know, 2 to 3, 4,000 BC. They weren't aware of space as we know it, you know, to the best of our knowledge. They weren't, you know, we can ponder the universe a lot more and further reaches. Back then, their idea of God was subjected to just this planet and viewing the stars from, you know, this point of view. So that's why, I mean, you know, could have been the inspiration or the, not that it's not divine and not that there's not some creator source, but just that was their experience of what God is, and that's why it was so prevalent in ancient times. Maybe.
You know what?
Mike,
I suspect.
can I just cut in there, guys? I've got to leave right now.
Oh,
I've got to
okay.
leave.
We'll get you guys back on too because there's more.
Yeah,
to
sure.
talk about.
No, Luke's all cool.
All right.
Chat again, guys. I've got
Thanks,
to go and
Paul.
do a soccer practice run.
All right.
See you, lads.
Dad of the year. Dad of the year, folks.
Soccer mom.
Soccer mom. All right, man.
Yeah, should I continue?
Yeah. Go ahead. We're still.
I suspect there's a great deal of difference, say, the philosophies between Amazonian tribespeople in terms of their interpretation of DMT and DMT realms versus, say, the astronomer priests of Egypt and, you know, great civilizations like that, like the Mayans. And I suspect the philosophies between, you know, these different places, different cultures at different times, I suspect they differ widely. You know, I think whatever happened in Egypt with the magic, the temples, the monuments, the buildings, I don't know, something profound went down there, and I suspect that place, those astronomer priests of that era, that culture, I suspect that they knew far more than we, you know, presently recognize.
It's a good thought for sure.
Sam, what are your thoughts on that whole? Do you think that that's possibly the inspiration between all the, you know, whether it's Abrahamic religions or because even if you look at some of these, you know, Middle Eastern mosques and stuff like that, have you ever seen the detail and the color on some of them? You can walk into and it looks like somebody drew a DMT picture. You know, is what the inside is. Some of these mosques look like.
Well, I don't know too much about that, to be honest. But one thing I'm pretty sure of, they're all talking about the same thing. You know what I mean? It's
sure.
Yeah.
There's not a doubt in my mind that they're not all talking about the same thing. You know what I mean? Because the sense of it all, of us all being one, it's just so mind blowing. You know that it is just one consciousness going on here, and they're all talking about it. You know what I mean? It's just in their own ways. They're all God's within us all. You know what I mean? That's why the side of our heads are called temples. You know, it's there in plain sight. You know, this is how we access the source through our own minds. You know, it's not to be. We're not supposed to be led by a separate entity. You know.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think too. You know, if you're looking at it from more of a, you know, scientific perspective, the idea of one isn't that weird because whether you believe in the Big Bang or the multiverse or some initial first cause, let's just say the Big Bang, you know, all the particles and molecules and everything on the quantum level, we're all made up of the same stuff that created the universe. You know, we are made of stardust. We're literally a piece of the universe, you know. So we are technically all one because we all come from the same thing.
Exactly. it up now, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's science. It's all coming together. It's merging together and creating a big picture for us. You know, so it's again, it's ignorance is the only way that's going to stop this from the truth being told. You know.
Right.
Yeah, and then we have mediums like YouTube and stuff that we can get this information out to people too. So
cool, man. It's all the collective consciousness. I mean, the internet's all part of it. You know, it's a massive brain at the end of the day. We're all picking up the information and working out for ourselves, and it's all going to come to one truth eventually. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, I mean, the internet's pretty much a modern day Akashic record, you know. But yeah, I mean, is there anything else you guys wanted to get to? We can do a part 2 of this because I know we got cut off with Paul. We can do, you know, another thing where, because there was some more questions I wanted to get to, even though we covered a decent amount. Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about though before we? I
think I'd just like to say that if anybody is thinking about trying ayahuasca, but for whatever reason they're being overly cautious or thinking, I don't want to do it because of this and I don't want to do it because of that. But if you think it's calling you, if you think it's something that you ought to explore and try, I say go for it, do it. Because I was in that position. I was like, man, I don't want to be purging. I can smoke DMT in the back garden in the house. There's no purging. It's all good. No, I'm so glad I did it, and I'd recommend it to anybody who feels like it's calling them.
Do we want to put an age limit out there, or is there like an age that you think is, you know, an acceptable?
mean, that's a tough. Well, we'll say this: anybody that has predisposition to any sort of schizophrenia or bipolar or anything like that, you should definitely not use these psychedelic substances because it's been proven to push you even further into psychosis. So just put that out there.
Well, we got interviewed before we went there as well, so you know they were very cautious of who they were bringing with them. Then they've turned people back before and stuff as well, which is important to know. You know, they know if you're ready to do this stuff or not as well, so that's important to know.
Right.
I've got 2 young boys, and they knew what I was up to. They knew where I was going and what I'd be doing, but there's no way I'd let them go. They're far too
right.
Young.
Yeah. So that's what I was asking. Is there like, did you have an age in mind where 21, 30?
Well, here's the thing: is like we know the frontal cortex isn't even fully developed till you're 25. So if they're saying that you probably shouldn't even smoke pot till you're 25, I'm going to go ahead and say that you probably shouldn't be doing most psychedelic. I mean, whatever kids are going to do. I mean, I did shit when I was in high school, you know, so kids are going to do what they're going to do. The thing I would say is maybe now knowing what we know about science, so you're not pushing yourself into a psychosis and you're not, you know, pushing yourself down a road you can't get out of later in life, which some people do. Maybe treat it as one of these things where, you know, wait till you're a little bit older or fully developed, or maybe actually need some sort of intervention. You know, that would be my opinion. But
well, I've read as well stuff about, you know, these tribes. They're giving it to their infants, you know, in little small doses. Right. The way their life is. You know what I mean? They're grown up to this stuff, and it tunes them in from a very early age. So it's all that comes down to the culture, really, I guess, too, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that. I agree with you, and I understand that perspective. The thing is though, let
me get this straight. I'm not doing this.
No. But what I'm saying is, like, if you were to take then one of those people and drop them off in the middle of New York City, it's a completely different animal, you know. So it depends on, like you said, set and setting, where you're at, your culture. If those tribes want to do that, I think more power to them. They've been living harmoniously and successfully for a long time, so you should do what works, you know. But I think from a perspective of modern day Western culture, I think you have to be very careful, because there's a set of you know, unfortunately we have this like guidelines. You must go to work, you must do this, you have to make money, you have to provide, you know. So there's all these hosts of anxieties and issues that maybe some people in other parts of the world don't have the same, you know, pressure, if you will.
Well, a lot of the transition back into normal life, they say, is the hardest part as well, you know, because you've experienced your natural state in such a way, and you've got to go back into the machine. I mean, when I finished there, I was on the tube, man, and it was chaos. The noise was just, it was a bit, you know, it was all right, but it was just, I was, you know, after being in such an organic sort of environment, I guess,
right.
And you back into that machine, it's like, well, what is going on here? You know what I mean? No one's talking to each other on the tube, and it's just takes a few days for it to sort of settle back into it, I guess.
And I think if you're somebody that's going on a retreat and then comes back to society, that's a little bit different. But if you're somebody that's used to a certain culture, or maybe takes it at a little bit of an early age, I think it is a different effect than if somebody that's more mature that understands the circumstances.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been 3 different people since I've been 18 years old, you know, so I think we all change and evolve and stuff too. So that's part of it as well. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate both of you guys and Paul coming on. Like I said, we can try and set up a part 2, and there was some other things I wanted to get to, but we can shelf that. And but yeah, I appreciate you guys coming on. Everybody check out Dick's book, DMT in My Occult Mind. And he's on Instagram and Twitter. Sam, you're on Instagram. What's your handle?
Sorry, yeah, I'm the Walrus Cuckoo on. I'll put a little comment. You post this on Instagram anyway, will you? I guess.
Yeah. We'll put you on there.
On there then, so everyone knows where I'm at.
And then, Dick, you're working on your second book. Do you have any idea when it might be coming out, or?
Oh, if I can get that published this year, I'll be very happy. I mean, it's as good as there. It's just I've had a promotion at work, family. My boys are becoming more and more demanding, and obviously that they're a priority for me. You know, I want to be a good father. I want to create some good memories. So if I can get it published this year, I'll be very, very happy indeed. And then my incentive is when it's published, I just want to resume research. I'm not smoking as regularly as I was a couple of years ago. So I just want to return to sort of be able to say, you know what, I'm gonna further my research. I'm really gonna get stuck into it. If I can do that, I'll be all smiles.
Sure. Well, it sounds good. I mean, you know, I think there's different ways to look at it. You know, like I said, my route's always been, I find this topic super fascinating, and I think it plays into other occult and esoteric stuff and ancient knowledge type stuff. So that's how I became fascinated with, and obviously having a background with most of the other psychedelics, I have a an affinity for altered states and consciousness and stuff like that. But I think that when you look at this subject, it is one of the more important ones today, like that I can think of. I mean, there's probably a few real mysteries left in life. Where do we come from? Why are we here? And I would put this right in the mix with what it does to the effects of how it affects people and what they get out of it, and these entities. I think that's the most important thing. Whether they are subconscious or external or whatever they are, it's one of the more fascinating topics, and I think that's why you see a lot of people talking about it now, because it is one of those things where everybody's got a different take on it. So but yeah, thanks you guys for coming on, and we'll try and get you set up another time to have all 3 of you on and have it a little bit more relaxed next time.
That'll be good, man.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Yeah, thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Boris. Thank you, Sam.
Thanks very much. Right there. See you later, boys.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye.